Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.
Thank you so much for joining us on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket 4 Timeout as we're building up to that first game in this 2020 World Cup between two full member nations. The game is being played out at the Nassau County Stadium in New York, and the game is between 2014 winners of the 2020 World Cup. Sri Lanka taking on a South African side that's packed on quite a muscle, whichever department you may look at it. Now, we've come a little late, and apologies for that, but when you've got four very good-looking men joining you on the show, these things take time because we got a full house today in the studio. We're joined in the studio by Sanjay Manjrekar. Sanjay bhai, good to see you as well, sir.
Thank you.
And we're joined by two very smart-looking men joining us from Sri Lanka and Australia, respectively. Farveez Maharoof, Morne, Morkel, good to see the two of you as well. My name, if you haven't guessed by my clothes by now, is Varun Dhawan. No, I'm joking around. My name is
they
Arjun.
wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know. Farveez might know.
And I like the way Arjun said four good-looking men, which means he's also called himself good-looking in that. So modesty not his
not
forte,
a strong suit. Not a strong suit. But Sanjay, I'm going to get to it. Tosses happen. We'll get to that in a bit. But let's just talk about Sri Lanka because there are two phases of this T20 World Cup: 2007 to 2014. Sri Lanka number one. Like you would call them amongst the best teams in T20. Then comes 2016 to now, and that's a complete change. You just haven't been able to replicate it at all.
Transition. You know, every team goes through a little bit of transition of players. If you remember 2014, when they beat India in the finals, there was a Lasith Malinga in the team. There was a Mahela Jayawardene, a Kumar Sangakkara.
Yes.
There was a lot of experienced people in their prime. But after that, then, you know, they all left and a new team came into being, young players trying to make a mark. Same with the West Indians as well. There are a couple of years when the aging players sort of weren't contributing. Now they are back to their young lot who are in the prime. So that happens, and you would say maybe it's still in transition. They haven't really taken the world by storm, the younger players, but it's a matter of time.
Farveez, then if I were to ask you, because you look at the Sri Lankan side and there is a lot of optimism around the side, especially the bowling and the kind of variety and the angles with which you have the bowlers coming at you. What is a good result for you in this World Cup for Sri Lanka?
I think clearly for this World Cup, Sri Lanka will be entering as a dark horse. I think that is a suitable word for Sri Lanka going in with that tag. And with the amount of mystery bowlers what we have, the two slingers, then Madhu Hasaranga, Mahesh Dekshana, all these guys bringing a different dimension. I reckon the first target would be to somehow get through the second round. And come the second round, especially with all the games being played in the West Indies, couple of games in Antigua, and I think one game in St. Vincent, where the pitches may be a bit slower. I think no team will be liking to play Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka can pack the team with spinners. So I reckon getting through the first round, and once you go to the second round, it's anyone's game.
Morne, on the other hand, when you look at South Africa, and it's a familiar story, right? Because that familiar story, if you change formats, say let's talk about the 50-over format, South Africa have not flattered to deceive, but so near so far because they've made so many semi-final appearances. When you look at the T20 World Cup, in all the appearances that they've done in this format, only two semi-final appearances with the likes of AB de Villiers, Faf du Plessis and the likes like you. How do you explain something like that, given the firepower with which South Africa always comes into this format?
Yeah, I'll call it maybe pressure, call it bad luck, poor execution. You know, unfortunately, when it comes to this game we love, winning is never guaranteed. And you know, I think from a South African point of view, we always went to World Cups with high hopes, hoping to lift that trophy, but it's never sort of materialized. But yeah, and with that, it's a bitter pill to swallow, and one that as South Africans we need to take on the chin. But I've got a feeling that this new sort of new look Protea team, they look at the game slightly different. They play the game in a different sort of style. So I've got high hopes for them this year that they might go all the way.
Are you paying importance to the fact that in the build-up to this World Cup, 11 T20 internationals, lost 9 of them, though there is that caveat that most of them are not full-strength teams?
Look, I mean, I wouldn't read too much into that personally. I think it was a phase for this Protea or for this T20 side to rebuild. A new coach came in. I know it is a sort of a policy for the T20 format side to give guys that that opportunity to find their feet in the international circuit. They'll play around with combinations. They'll give some of the senior players, one game and then rest them. So, we know as players, if you only have to play one game and you're out of the series, your intensity sometimes can be a little bit low. So that losing streak for me, I wouldn't read too much into it. It's World Cup now. A lot at stake. Those guys walking on the field today, they know they've got a responsibility for uplifting a nation. So we see that with the Springboks and the way they've played in the World Cup rugby. So I reckon it's going to be different energy. We'll definitely see them come out and try and land some punches.
Oh, land some punches, yeah. That can be like the tagline for the South African side. Once they start landing punches, they just don't stop. Toss has happened, Sanjay bhai. Everyone is expecting you win the toss and you bowl first. Vanindu Hasaranga has opted to bat first for Sri Lanka.
I'm a little surprised. If the warm-up game was any indication, there was definitely a little bit of help for the seam bowlers, the spinners as well. You would put it down to maybe moisture. It's a morning game. So I wasn't surprised when South Africa said they would have bowled first had they won the toss. But I don't know what the logic is. I don't agree with that call. But Sri Lanka, when I look at Sri Lanka, and Farveez is here, is one of those teams, I think one of the very few teams that goes into the tournament with quality bowling. Bowling is their strength.
Yep.
If their batting just rises to the occasion, it's high quality bowling attack. So it's one of those rare teams where the bowling attack is their strength.
Farveez, is that the reason you suppose? Win toss, back your bowling?
Yeah, I think so. I think picking up from what Sanjay bhai just said, looking at the pitch, how it's on the color, and watching the India-Bangladesh warm-up game, there was some movement for the fast bowlers. But I think Sri Lanka banking on their bowling, asking the batsmen to play without any pressure, without any fear, with a scoreboard pressure, just go out there, get a decent score and back the bowlers to do the job. So it's a 50-50 call on a good pitch, on a placid pitch. Sri Lanka would have possibly opted to field first. But in this case, knowing that the South African side is very good when it comes to putting up a score, and there's so many hard hitters in that team, I reckon this is a decision made purely on the conditions what is in hand. So the first 6 overs is going to be very important. South Africans are playing with 4 seamers, so it's important for Sri Lanka to lay the foundation right in the first 6 overs and get the power hitters in the middle overs to come and do a damage.
So I think Farveez is spot on. I think they're worried about South Africa batting first and just shutting Sri Lanka out of the game very early. So they want to give themselves a chance and hoping to get maybe 170, 180, close to 200, and then their bowling will come into its own. So looking at their own strength and the strength of the opposition, that's the call. I feel the pitch has just too much for the bowlers not to take advantage of in the first 1 hour.
Farveez, I'll just show you the 11 now. It had just come right now. We'll put it out for you again. When we were building up to this game yesterday as well, you had spoken about, Dushmanta Chamira being in your 11. A little surprised he's not there, featuring in that 11?
A lot surprised, if I'm being very honest to you, Arjun. I thought experience comes handy come the World Cup game, especially playing away from subcontinent. That's why I said, playing 2 slingers, especially who are very inexperienced in a World Cup games is risky. And in case if one of them gets it wrong, you need an experienced bowler coming and doing the hard yard. So this is where I think Sri Lanka has taken that risk. So hopefully this is a bowl call will work for Sri Lanka. And Wan Tushar is a bowler who loves to bowl with the new ball. He'll probably give you 2 to 3 overs with the new ball. And Matisha Patirana, on the other hand, is a complete different bowler. He prefers the older ball in the middle overs and at the end overs. So I reckon this is where the plan is going to be. And my station as 4 overs is going to be crucial. How he's going to be used. I would reckon a couple of overs in the power play and a couple of in the middle. And the other headache Sri Lanka had was the number 4 position, whether to have Sadira Samaravikrama or Dhananjay De Silva. So they have gone with Sadira Samaravikrama, who has been getting a continuous run at number 4, trusting him with his abilities. So other than that, I think the combination remains the same. The personnel remains the same. It's all about getting a right start, laying the foundation, and making sure that counter punches how they can attack.
Morne, the South African 11, we'll just put it out for you right now. And that one omission that I'm going to get to, and that is no Gerald Coetzee. Can you understand that?
With Otniel Bartman, Otniel had a fantastic SA20. He's a guy that can offer them also a bit of firepower at the death. So that's I'm excited for him to see how he goes today. Nortje, he's coming back from injury. Obviously had a sort of average IPL by his standards, but he's been working hard in the nets, and the feedback I got from their camp was that he's bowling fast, so it's going to be nice to see him back. But I think for them going there with the 4 quicks today, trying to put sort of Sri Lanka on the back foot, and then they can plan that chase a little bit later in the afternoon.
Morne, I just spotted 5 sort of bowling options for South Africa, and if they have to go to the 6th bowler, who's that going to be? Markram, is it?
Markram, he will probably bowl in the power play, but I think with their bowling lineup at the moment, it gives them variation. You've got the bounce of Marco Jansen, you've got the swing, the pace of Kagiso Rabada, KG, Keshav there, with his left arm spin, and then X factor with Nortje, and then not debutant, but Otniel Bartman coming in and then playing in his first World Cup game. So I think it's a nice balanced attack. There's a lot of variation, in this attack, and it's something that you're going to need. So I'm excited to see how they go.
I know South Africa, of course, are bowling right now, Sanjay, but when you're talking South Africa, you talk about certain Mr. Quinton de Kock, or as we like call him, QDK. That's a nice name, by the way. But let's show you some numbers, because QDK will not be happy with these numbers of this recent past. For a player who's played so much, and you've seen him very closely at the IPL as well, didn't have a good IPL, and for a tournament where you need these guys who can play the situation, can change their game according to the situation, will you be reading too much into it for a guy who's played so much?
Little bit, because more than just the numbers, how Quinton de Kock has looked when he's come in to bat at the top of the order. It wasn't the same Quinton de Kock that we saw a few years back. But I keep saying there's so much of other cricket that happens through the year that sometimes you might expect somebody like a Quinton de Kock for fatigue to set in and not being at his best. So you need a World Cup to just galvanize certain players, and that is likely to happen with somebody like Quinton de Kock with his experience, class and ability as well.
Morne, not too worried about Quinton and his form going into this World Cup?
No, Quinton is a guy, he doesn't really overthink the game, and also with the style he plays, he's a guy that if he hits 1 or 2 boundaries, that will get him going again. I had long conversations with him during the IPL, and he knew that he also felt the pressure of his strike rate, and I think at times he went, a little bit too hard, trying to get that phase of his game up. But with Quinton, I think he's got experience. You need experience in that World Cup game, first World Cup game, and he's also a guy at the top of the innings that can, build that partnership. We always speak about a KPI of an 80-run partnership in your batting unit, and he can, form that partnerships with the top and middle order.
Yeah, Quinton de Kock, because in this tournament we've seen, I know it's a small sample size of what we've seen in this tournament right now, but it kind of gives you the sense that it's not going to be so easy to hit the ball, that you can't always hit a 6 and 4, that you need the kind of guys who say single, double, and that's where his importance comes into this game.
Yeah, so far, it's a short sample size, but if the pitches continue to be similar to the one that we saw in Guyana and in New York, then people like Roston Chase, batters who can bat in the 2nd and 3rd gear become crucial, and that's where again Quinton de Kock with his test match pedigree, all these people who have played test cricket will be able to handle the pressure. There will be occasion maybe at the start of a morning game where you might have to show some defense to begin with. So it's not one of those pitches where we see in private leagues, especially in the IPL, where you just come in and start belting the ball. You've got to be a little careful. So let's see whether this pitch is anything similar to the one that we saw when Rohit Sharma and Sanjay Samson really struggled in the morning.
Or as we like to call, Happy Diwali and Merry Christmas. Come, let's play a game of cricket right now. That's what we saw in the IPL so far. Farveez, but from a Sri Lankan perspective, given the prowess that South Africa has with the bat, you've got able answers with the ball over there. You've got Theekshana, you've got Pathirana. It's all a case of how much you use them, who you use them for and when you use them.
Absolutely. As I said in my preview yesterday, for example, like a guy like Henrik Klassen or Aiden Markham, who don't play the wrist spin that well when it comes to mid-spinners. That's where I think Manjrekar Hasaranga's captaincy will be tested, how he himself going to be used, as well as Mahesh Theekshana. So I reckon it has to be horses for courses. And, we spoke about Quinton de Kock. I think he's one of the dangerous players going around in this World Cup. Yes, leading up to the World Cup, the form is a bit concerning, but he has got all the experience, class. Those kind of players, just a matter of getting a couple of balls in the middle of the bat and off they go. So Sri Lanka should be very, very mindful with the new ball to somehow get rid of Quinton de Kock and then get the middle order batsman and get Manjrekar Hasaranga and Mahesh Theekshana soon into the game and ask the South African batters if they want to go big, slug it out of the park to slug it against two quality spinners.
Because Morne, if you look at that South African batting lineup, and a lot of people are talking that it ends at Marco Jansen, given the power that you had before Jansen, are you fine with that, or you suppose there's possibly a tail too long there?
I think the top model order needs to take the responsibility. I don't think you can, depend too much on the number 8. Marco, for me, is a quality player. He's got long levers. He's got a fantastic strike rate. So for him coming in at 7, a Maharaj is also a guy that can hit you the boundary when needed, with a KJ Rabada at sort of 9. I think that's a perfect sort of lineup for me with South Africa. But it's got to the work that needs to be done at the top. You've got Risa Hendricks, Quinton de Kock, like we spoke. If they can get us off to a good start on that power play and set the platform for a Klaasens, Miller, Stubbs, Markram, that is I think the way that South Africa would hope it would go today.
Yeah, because Farveez, if you look at Sri Lanka, it's about the captain, right? So much is about the captain. I mean, we know what kind of a player he is. He's a match winner on his given day with the ball, with the bat. He's a good fielder as well. But what do you make of Vanindu Hasaranga, the captain, and how he uses his bowlers to execute what he wants to do?
I think with the new ball, it's going to be one Tushar for sure. He's the one who can swing the ball, slingy action. He can be useful. And Angelo Matthews will be a very good option in these kind of slow pitches. He doesn't have much pace, but he has the guile and he has the good variations to trouble the batsman. So I reckon Angelo Matthews will be used, and Mahesh Theekshana's experience will be used as well in the power play. I think bulk of the bowling with those 3 bowlers will be done in the power play, and then comes the middle overs. This is where Manjrekar Hasaranga will try and dominate, as well as Matisha Patirana.
What about Dasun Shanaka, Farveez? Is he bowling much at all?
I mean, he's been in good form with the ball. Last practice game against Ireland, I think he picked up 3 or 4 wickets and made sure Sri Lanka somehow won that game. There was a bit of a tight game going in the middle, and he came with the goods with the ball. So he'll definitely his bowling will be needed. He's something like the 5th bowler for Sri Lanka alongside Angelo Matthews. So Angelo Matthews, Dasun Shanaka, if they can get rid of 4 overs out of them, means that Manjrekar Hasaranga, Mahesh Theekshana will have 8 and 1 Tushar, and Matisha Patirana and 1 Tushar, and Manjrekar Hasaranga will give you 16 overs. So Dasun Shanaka, Angelo Matthews' roles are quite similar. Bat at number 7, 8, be the finishers, and with the ball, bowl at 4 overs, Dasun in the middle overs, Angelo in the power play, get the job done.
Make sure you keep at least 2 of Pathirana for the death. Farveez?
I would at least keep 3 if it could, because his death bowling form in the IPL before he got injured was fantastic, and I've known that boy for the last 6 years. He has come down the ranks, and he's always been the same. With the older ball, he can be devastating, because lately he has mastered the slow ball really well. So he's going to be a weapon if he gets it right. So Sri Lanka, it's going to be important for him to have at least 3 overs for my liking in the death overs.
I'm just trying to understand from a batsman's perspective. You're so used to, the ball coming and you're hitting it. You're a powerful guy. You're a strong guy. Suddenly now the ball is coming in at this angle. It's not only one Pathirana, there's a Tushara there as well. And then there is, of course, a Theekshana who's trying to do those defensive lines. How difficult is it for a batsman to suddenly adjust to that? And that coming at you from all corners.
These guys, the modern day batters, have seen the slingers. Maybe in the earlier days, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, there was no Malinga around. So Malinga actually was one of the first guys to have that very sidearm kind of bowling action. Against the South Africans, it might just come handy because they are guys who, play the tall, fast bowlers as a matter of habit, bounce the pitches. Having said that, the surfer that we saw in New York, a drop in pace, so the biological parent of that pitch is an Australian.
Yeah.
It may be in New York. New York has adopted that pitch for a while. If there is bounce, these bowlers are slightly easier to handle. They flourish when the pitch is, low bounce and slow because the other bowlers struggle to get pace of the pitch, and these guys are not looking for pace of the pitch. They create all their mystery in the air.
Sanjay, before we let you go, we've got to get a prediction. We've only seen one match there, so it's an easy job. Please tell us, what are you expecting from this game?
I just want Sri Lanka to bat well because it's a tricky time against a quality bowling attack. South Africa obviously start as favourites, but we've seen a few close matches, West Indies almost losing to Papua New Guinea, so who knows.
It's a tricky one, because you put pressure on not your strongest suit.
Yeah,
and you
and
need to
go
go out
because of
there
the pitches as well.
Yeah.
Like PNG surprised West Indies because West Indies struggled on that surface in Guyana.
So about a 150, 170, is that what you're...
Yeah, they should at least get 170, I think.
Farveez, for you, predictions, how do you see this game going? What's a good total for you?
I think 160, 170 is a must to stay in the game. Looking at how strong the South African batting lineup is, to get to 160, 170, I think the first 6 overs setting the tone is going to be important against a quality new ball attack of South Africa.
Right, thanks so much for that, Farveez. And before we let you go, let me just remind all our viewers who are watching us right now, you can download the Cricinfo mobile app. It's as simple as that. You can get all your updates on that app. Make sure you can get it on the Google Play Store. You can get it on the Apple Store as well. Faster scores and more. Download the app now. We, of course, will be coming your way after the end of the Sri Lankan batting innings. Sanjay bhai, Farveez, thank you so much for joining us on the show. You were watching Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Timeout.
Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.